What's going on, sports card family? We are back again, another day, another video. What's going on, guys? How are we doing? We're almost to the end of the week in the US. Tomorrow we got Veterans Day. So maybe a long weekend for some of us. I am ready for it. If you're new here, you're looking for daily sports card collectibles content, friends, you have come to the right place. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. Also connect with me on IG at Sports Card Dad. Had a great time last night with my guys Neo Cards and Comics and Flip and Steve for Off Centered. Make sure to check it out if you want some more of that long form type content. And also wanted to share a pickup here recently. This is a PSA 10 Drew Brees 2018 Silver Prism. If you can believe it, during the height of the crazy, the Tom Brady version of this card sold for $25,000. It's now all the way back down to about $1,200 or $1,500. The $25,000 sale, a complete outlier. I've been corrected for how I say that. But this card, $130. The print run believed to be about 300. The Silver Prisms, I know in today's world, you're like, Silver Prism, who really cares? Well, 2018 football specifically, it was a short printed card. And so cool pickup. I do have a PSA 9 of this as well. I like to stack those types of cards for my PC. Today we're going to talk about PC, but we're going to talk about kind of long-term holding and price points, price floors. I think that we are finally starting to settle in for a lot of cards, new price floors being set. And I think that a lot of people have been trying to figure out kind of like, hey, do we have more room to fall? Are we starting to get to the bottom and so forth? So it's kind of fun to predict these things. I dive in further. Huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Hake's Auctions. They've got their huge November auction that ends in about 6 days. So make sure you check it out. There's a ton of really cool different types of collectibles that are on Hake's Auctions. 1967 founded, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, collectibles auction house. Great guys over there and some really great items that are ending soon. So make sure to check out the link in the video description as well as in the pinned comments to take you over there to take a look at the stuff. All right, one thing I wanted to just kind of discuss, because I think that this might get lost when we're looking at kind of huge price increases and the decreases and all that. All right, so I'm going to touch on this briefly because I know that we talk about it all the time. The trillions of dollars that came into the system going back to 2020 and 2021. Well, over the last 18 months or so, the Federal Reserve has been trying to cool off spending because all this money, the government was like, yes, let's roll. And so all the money was thrown out into the ecosystem, and the Federal Reserve seeing that, hey man, prices are going way up on used cars and food and gas, all that stuff. We've got to figure out how to siphon money out of the system. Now, this doesn't mean that they're telling everybody, all right, guys, take your cash to the town square. We're burning cash tonight because we have too much supply of currency of US dollars. We need to go ahead and just get these out. No, what they've done is they're raising interest rates. This is one piece of a very complex issue, but it kind of gives you some food for thought. They move interest rates up, which for big money especially, and for average Joe's middle class, they say, oh my gosh, like I've been getting literally less than 1% in a savings account or a money market account. A CD, go back a few years, it's like, look at CD rates and you're like, I'm not putting money in a CD. It's just going to do nothing for me. I'm going to make like 0.5%. Well, now what have we seen over the last 18 months? Now cash is king. Cash was trash. Now cash is king. And so big money is like, hey, why am I risking money in collectibles or anything for that matter? I'm going to move it over and just let it sit in my money market account and get 5-6%. And the ultra wealthy can even get better deals than that, frankly. They can negotiate with these banks because they've got all the money to lend. The banks are like, hey, Warren Buffett, give us your money. And he's like, what are you going to give me? If I'm going to plot my money in your bank to lend out to others, I want the best rates. Warren Buffett and these big money folks, they're not getting the usual rate that you get when you look up online, when you look at CD rates. They're working special deals with banks, with these institutions. And so, of course, what happened? The investor types, so to speak, or just speculative types, they move their money over into more safe stuff. Like, hey, why am I taking on risk that I don't need to take on when I can get these types of returns? But it doesn't change the fact that money is still out there. It's just off. It's just on the sidelines right now, but it's still created. That genie is already out of the bottle. So what does that mean? That means that money could come right back into speculative assets. It's just a matter of interest rates. It's just going to come down to how long are they going to hold and will they bring it back down? Eventually, will they bring those rates back down to where they kind of were before? Maybe they're not as low as they were, but the lower the interest rates go, it's going to create more of a bullish environment for people to say like, all right, look, there's no reason for me to sit this money in the bank. I'm just not making anything from it. They're looking for returns. People are looking for returns on their money. They want their money working for them. And so when I look at these all-time prices, and you hear this a lot, you hear this said a lot, we will never get back to 2020 and 2021 prices.
They would be worth over $10,000.
We hear that a lot, don't we? And it very well could be true, but what if it's not true over an extended period of time? So I'm not talking about short term. I'm not talking about like, oh, cards 10x in the next year or 2 years. But if you're a long-term holder for this sort of thing, what if it takes 20 years? What if it takes 25 years? Because that's really my hold. I'm 42. I have a plan for my collection. I will keep some things into old age and to pass down. But I think my 60s is probably what I'm going to be looking at. Okay, what can I move off of? What do I not really love anymore? I've been holding this stuff forever. A lot of this is fun for me to see like what's going to be relevant in 20, 25, 30 years, because most people have a very short-term time horizon in their minds as investors. Everybody's an investor, everybody's a holder, everyone's a speculator, but when push comes to shove, a lot of people just sell stuff. They sell off the Amazon stock too early. They sell off the Apple stock too early. They sell their house or the real estate investments too early or whatever. The long-term holders for certain things, obviously, look, cards, 99% of cards are going to depreciate in value. But there's going to be certain stuff, there's going to be players that transcend. A lot of people talk about GOAT cards, and it's not to say that all GOAT cards, it's like, oh yeah, jump into GOAT cards. They're already expensive. But as we're in this sort of bearish type environment, there are pockets for the GOATs that are out there that are opportunities. And it seems to me that with collectibles, whether we're talking about sports cards or just IP, when you're talking about just important pop culture IP, for comic books, it's all the Marvel stuff. There's DC stuff that's gone crazy over time, because obviously these characters with the movies and the shows, they've just become more ingrained in pop culture. Video games is similar. Graded video games have taken their hit. I'll make another video on my other channel here coming out here soon, talking about the rise and fall and where we're at with graded video games. But there's iconic IP. And for me, I ask myself, will this thing be relevant in 20 years or 30 years? Will people know about it? Will they care about it? Is there a possibility that they still collect it or more people are collecting it in 20, 25 years? Does this IP have legs? Are people still going to be interested? And I think that's a really fun space to be in, because I think that there's a lot of opportunities in this bear market where everybody's like, collectibles suck, cards suck. And I think you can do both of the short-term and the long-term stuff. You can play that fun short-term buy, sell, flip, buy it, grade it, break it, grade it, sell it. That's all fun. And then you can buy like certain items that you're like, you know what, that's a very specific item that I want to hold on to long-term. That's what's great about the hobby, is you can do all of these things. But a question I would ask you is, if in 20 years, 25 years, you're getting older, you're like, you know what, I'm ready to move off of it. If the best case scenario, prices were at these pandemic levels, would you be happy? Would you be happy? Because a lot of cards, frankly, 10x'd. They 5x, 7x, 10x'd 2020, 2021. The answer for me is yes. If it takes 25 years to get back to where the 2020, 2021 pricing is, and I got to hold on to the cards, I got to enjoy them, and then at the end I could sell at a profit. And I know we have to take inflation into account over time, like what's money worth in 25 years, but we just had the most inflationary event of all time over the last 3 years. Keep that in mind. I would be ecstatic. I would be ecstatic if it's those highs from 2020 and 2021 when we're in the year 2053. If we're at those prices, I would be absolutely fine with that. And so I wonder that for you. Would you be happy with that? And do you think that that's possible if we're talking about a long-term horizon? I do. I actually do think it's possible for certain cards, not for all sports cards. Like we say, most athletes won't work out, most cards won't be relevant. And that's part of the fun. Part of the fun is kind of the guessing, the speculating on what is going to be important over the long haul, and in the short run, kind of buying and selling rookies or buying and selling kind of the new product. there's a lot of fun doing all of these different things. So realistically, I do think that we have another 6 to 9 months of really nice buying opportunities. But my guess, so this is just my prediction, is that next summer time is going to be when things start to turn a corner a little bit for collectibles, become a little bit more bullish. I think that that's going to be where we see a little bit of a return, a little bit of cards coming back. And again, I'm talking about specific cards. I do get messages from people that are like, hey, this particular market's still hitting all-time highs, these rare inserts. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about the stuff that is very, very limited, where a few people are holding on to very limited stuff, which is going to keep price points either moving up or at least steady, because you just don't have a lot of players that are holding on to a very limited supply. And then as a new one pops up, they grab it. There's not going to be huge price declines for that sort of stuff for certain players. I think we've got a nice little buying time that we haven't seen in years. I think it's going to be great. It's been a lot of fun. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.